Here's my look at the nominees for Best Lead Actress. This year there are a lot of women giving great performances in a lot of great movies. But if the nominations this year are any indication, there was at least one woman who gave a great performance in a terrible movie. And make no mistake, Ana de Armas was great as Marilyn Monroe in Blonde, but the film itself is absolutely awful. This film just made me angry, but the problem was it made me angry in pretty much every way except the ones they intended. It's basically Monroe suffering a series of indignities with very little point beyond that Hollywood can be awful towards women, or that she suffered a lot in life. Look, I love movies about movies, and I don't mind brutal films about unfair power dynamics. But without that much to say, with a foregone downbeat conclusion, this film would become a slog at 2 hours. At nearly 3 though, it's interminable, and the great cinematography and editing can make up for the repetitive hardships and some baffling design choices. A lot of people thought Danielle Deadwyler's performance in Till would get nominated, and I'd definitely take her over de Armas any day. Till was actually a great example of uncompromisingly brutal content being turned into a great movie, and allowed Deadwyler's performance to shine, whereas Blonde ended up making me lose interest, and therefore it became harder to focus on de Armas' performance. There was probably a legitimately Oscar-worthy film in here about Monroe I would have welcomed. But as is, you're just going to have to trust me that de Armas is good, but won't win, and that you should absolutely leave Blonde off your Oscar watch list. Andrea Riseborough portrayed a woman under the influence, and desperate to get out of it, in To Leslie. We'll get to the star-studded elephant in the room in a bit, but first the film itself. Leslie is an alcohol-addicted single mother in Texas who has become a laughingstock for squandering a lottery win on drugs and liquor. Rendered homeless and desperate to connect with her son, or anybody else, she decides to turn her life around. Let me just make this clear. Andrea is good in this. Really good. But here's the thing. She isn't that good. By now I'm sure many of you have heard about the controversy surrounding her nomination and the celebrity-backed campaign that may or may not have been tantamount to lobbying. I didn't see this movie when it came out, and yeah, I know nobody else did, but I actually saw this playing and probably would have at least considered it given the reviews. Now that I have, I can say for certain that Andrea Riseborough would not have been one of my guesses for this award. Yes, she's good, but not enough in a standout way, and there are plenty of actresses who gave great performances in small movies this year, as in the past. Some of the other nominees floored me on first viewing, but I can't say I would have really thought about this past release if I had saw it when it came out. Look, just because some films don't have flashy for your consideration campaigns doesn't mean they aren't worthy, and some small films have beaten the odds, including this year. But using internal Academy contacts to raise awareness of a movie is cheating. Imagine Steven Spielberg, after winning a Golden Globe for The Fabelmans, using his speech to tell people to watch Phil Tippett's film Mad God in the hopes of getting a Best Animated Feature nomination. Although I'll say that Mad God was more deserving of a Best Animated Feature nomination than Andrea Riseborough was for Best Leading Actress. However, regardless of how you feel about the nomination, To Leslie is a good movie, and if you want to make it part of your Oscar watch list, you should. She's definitely not my prediction for a winner, though. The Fabelmans featured a lot of great performances across the board, but Michelle Williams was the only one where I could already see the glimmer of Oscar gold. Michelle's performance as Sammy Fabelman's mother Mitzi is one that combines motherly love with deep emotional pain. If you haven't seen the film, I'm about to get a bit in depth, so skip to here if you don't want to be spoiled. Her performance is sweet at first, encouraging Sammy's love of filmmaking. However, her best work in this film is from the more dramatic moments, dealing with multiple moves because of her husband, her mother's death, and a secret affair with her husband's friend that Sammy discovers. It's an intense performance, one that in my opinion actually overshadowed others in the film, and some of my favorite scenes in it were because of Williams. She's definitely one of the better actresses of the 5, but I can't really see her winning, not compared to the other 2 nominees. The main Best Actress mashup this year is absolutely brutal. There can only be one winner, and there's going to be one painful cut. First is Cate Blanchett as Lydia Tarr. I don't think I'd seen many other movies last year where I automatically predicted an acting nomination as quickly as I did for Blanchett and Tarr. Her lengthy opening scene automatically made me believe her as the character, and her performance over the film's runtime affected me more than many other films I'd seen recently. There are some scenes with her that absolutely gut-punched me. She was, by far, one of the best actors of 2022, and I mean regardless of gender. But at the same time, she already has a Best Actress Oscar, plus a Best Supporting Actress Oscar, and her opponent is not only long overdue for a win, and has been racking up awards, but is definitely a welcome change of pace for acting nominations in general. Michelle Yeoh is nominated for her role as Evelyn Wang, the overworked immigrant mother turned multiversal action hero in Everything Everywhere All at Once. And if that description doesn't sound like an offbeat Oscar nomination, I don't know what does. Yes, Michelle Yeoh is awesome in this movie, but it's the emotional core of the character that brings this performance to new heights. It's not just that she's engaging in inter-timeline fighting tactics, but she's also dissatisfied with her life and having to see what else she could have done in order to save the multiverse. And some of it seems decidedly preferable to how she's living now. It's rare to see a character like this who the audience can probably relate to. We can't all fight like Evelyn, or acquire skills through alternate timelines, but I'm sure we've all wondered what could have been. And between the current state of the world and the multiverse's ubiquity in pop culture now, it's a performance that could leave an impact. Not to mention the fact that, like all the other performances in this movie, Michelle has to act through several different timelines and settings, sometimes simultaneously. She's also funny, sad, deeply heartwarming, and kick-ass incredible all in one movie. It's one of the most unique performances at the Oscars I've ever seen. The question is, who's going to win? I typically root for the performance that's not just good, but stands out the most and leaves the biggest impact. But the truth is, both these performances did, and for very different reasons. And while many have predicted Blanchett as the winner for a while, Yeoh has been massively picking up steam for ceremony after ceremony, to the point where Gold Derby now has her in the lead. So the truth is, I don't know. It could go either way. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going with Yeoh. There's simply no other character and performance like hers in the nominees, or last year, or in other years and other Oscars. Blanchett was incredible, but also in a pretty standard way. And let's be honest, Yeoh is just extremely fun to watch while being emotionally investing. And given the stereotypes surrounding who wins at the Oscars, that's the kind of performance I definitely love to see win more. In my next video, I'll go over the Best Picture nominees. Hey everyone, if you liked this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, well, maybe you'll like the next one. I have a lot more planned.